Hey, what's up, everybody? So I'm gonna put this lip on 2012 Nissan Altima. I had a lip on there before, and it was, yeah, well, it didn't look that good. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this one on. I got this one. It's a polyurethane. It's Magic Drift is the name of the company. Let's see. That's the name of the company it came from. It was like $70 or something like that. So it's polyurethane, so it comes in just, it's unprimed, unfinished. It's black polyurethane. So you're gonna have to prep it if you want to paint it before you put it on. I would recommend painting it because polyurethane has a tendency to start turning white in direct sunlight over time. So if you paint it, put plastic dip on it, whatever you're gonna do, but you want to prep it beforehand. So first thing I did when I got it is pulled out of the package and test fit it on the car. I just kind of stuck it on the bottom of the car with some masking tape to see how it would fit. And all in all, it fits really well. I was surprised I didn't have to do any kind of modification to it. I didn't have to cut it or anything like that. So I went ahead and cleaned it real good with some rubbing alcohol. Washed it first with just regular soap and water. Cleaned it with some rubbing alcohol. Then I took sandpaper to it and I sanded it. They tell you like 300 to 400 grit wet sand, which works really, I guess that works pretty good, but if you really want the primer to stick, you're gonna have to really sand this thing down. So I started out with like a 120 grit, sanded it real good, came back with 220, sanded it again, hit it with 400 grit, and then wet sanded it with like 800 grit. So I got it real smooth. Kind of hard to tell in the video, but so I got it real smooth first. Then I hit it with some primer, some regular polyurethane primer. Wet sanded that again. Hit it about two or three coats of the primer. Then I used this stuff from Touchupdirect for the paint coat of my car, which is like a QX3 paint coat, I think it is. You can find it on the inside door panel on the little sticker. It tells you the paint code. But I went with this. This stuff was kind of expensive. It was about $80 for this, but it comes with the base coat, a mid coat, and then a clear coat. So I did the base coat, about 3 to 4 light coats to get, or I'm sorry, not the base coat, it's the color coat. That's what that is. About 3 to 4 good coats, about 10 to 15 minutes between them. Let them dry real good. Then come back with the mid coat, which is kind of like a clearish looking color. Same thing with that, 3 coats, about 10 to 15 minutes dry time in between them. Then I let it dry real good. And you let it dry for about an hour, and then went back with the clear coat and put on 3 coats of clear. So that'll look pretty good. But what you got to do now, so it's got screw holes on it. You screw it into the bottom of the car, but that's not where the real strength and holding it comes from. You got to get 2-sided tape, and you want to put the 2-sided tape on the back side here in just a couple of places. I wouldn't recommend getting 2-sided tape and running the entire length with one section, because that's just going to be a pain to try to get straightened out. A lot of smaller sections, I'll show you later when I do it, but I put a lot of small sections on there, and then that's what's going to really hold it to the bumper. But before you do that, you're going to want to make sure that everything is clean. You're going to want to clean this again, even some rubbing alcohol, just a nice wipe down on the back side here where the tape is going to go, so it gets good adhesion. Do the same thing to the car. Clean the bottom of the bumper off real good, and then hit it with some rubbing alcohol as well. Make sure you get everything off of it, because you want it to be super clean when you go to put the lip on. I haven't cleaned the car yet, I'm going to, but you're going to want it really, really clean. That will allow the 2-sided tape to stick real well. So we're going to go ahead and put the tape on this thing and then try to get it attached to the car. It comes with some screws too, a little package of screws to put on, but really any type of little like self-tapping little screws will work real well. I'm gonna drill holes, you know, we're gonna put it up there, line it up, make sure it looks real good, drill some holes, screw it in, and then if we have to do any kind of adjustment to the corners to get it to look just right, we'll go ahead and do those. But that's it for now. That's just the prep work, and then we'll go ahead and put it on the car. All right, so now we're gonna attach the lip to the car. It's kind of tacked in place right now. Cleaned off the bottom of the car and the lip real good, washed them down, soap and water. Used a little bit of alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. That's just to help the two-sided tape stick better. So what I did first was, since I'm doing this solo, I used a jack stand to kind of, well, let me start over. Put the car up on jack stands because you're not going to be able to get under there and work on it with a drill or anything with it at just regular ride height. Car's already lowered, and then it's already too low to get a drill under there. So doing it by myself, I used a jack stand to hold up one corner, using a floor jack to hold up the front, jack stand to hold up the other corner to kind of just get it in place. Then came over and matched up these corners here and went ahead and put a single screw in. Come around here, I just got the front end held up right now with a jack. Did the same thing over here, got the corner to match up the way I wanted, put a single screw in. So it's got a little gap right now, but as you put the two-sided tape on and put a couple more screws in, it's gonna pull up nicely to the car and give it a semi-factory look to it. There are a few places like this where you're not gonna, it's gonna be unavoidable just because of the way the car is shaped. You know, it's straight here and then it kind of curves in, and this lip just makes a nice curve all the way through. So in that event, you can either push it up there, pull the bumper out a little bit and put a couple of screws in it to hold it underneath, or use a little bit of heat on it to try to make it conform to the car a little bit. But this portion right here is really thick, and it's going to be hard for you to melt it, or not melt it, but heat it up and then make it conform to the car. It's not really going to work too well. So right now I'm just looking for the places where I want to put my two-sided tape on. I'm going to put some underneath here, across the front. Make sure I get a couple of good pieces across the front to hold it in. Once that's on, then you're going to go ahead and put the screws in it and pull it up to the car, make it fit real tight. But yeah, don't use too much two-sided tape. You want to use a good little bit that you know you won't, the thing ain't gonna fall off, but you don't want to use too much and end up getting too many pieces up under there, because then it won't sit flush. So I'll go ahead and put the tape on it and start pulling it together with screws and see how it looks. So I got two-sided tape put on. I'm gonna show you real quick where I put it. There's a little piece there, right there where it makes this little transition right there. It's always kind of a problem area. Piece there, one right in the middle there. Same thing in that transition area, little piece there, little piece there. So what we're gonna do is peel the backing off the tape, start pushing it up to the car, and we'll go in behind it, you know, at each one, and put in a couple of screws, and hopefully it'll pull up real nice to the car and won't look like the dog's rear end. Alright, that's what it looks like on. Got it on there. Pulled it together with some screws. Ended up taking more screws than I thought it would, you know, to get it to pull together real close to the car. What I did find was putting the screws in the screw holes there in the middle actually made the front of the lip come down, so it wasn't like basically flat. It kind of dipped in the middle like that, so I ended up pulling those screws out of the back and screwing it in more closer to where it actually meets the car. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, gaps like that right there. So if you screw it in there and pull that all the way up to the car, it pulls the front of the lip down, and you don't want to do that. You want it to be nice and flat all the way across. So I would recommend putting some of those screws in initially to get it started, and then pull those screws back out and screw it in a little closer towards the front. That's hard to see, it's not focusing. There we go, come on. There we go. Screw it a little closer to the front. I ended up using more screws that I had just kind of laying around. Some other stuff. A couple of them have like nuts on the back of them. See if you can see up in here. Nope, it's not gonna want to focus. Oh, that was bright. There we go. So yeah, I mean, it ended up using more screws than I thought it was going to get it to really pull up to the car. Because initially the first test fit, you know, just kind of taping it up there, it fit kind of pretty good. But you know, once you put screws in it and you start pulling it up to the car, it's gonna want to back away a little bit right along in there. So you're gonna have to put more screws in it to kind of try to pull it back up towards the car. But like I said, you want to put your screws in, you know, closer to this lip here than further back, because the further back you go, the more it's going to want to pull the front of the lip down in the middle and kind of make it look like it's drooping in the middle. It still kind of does it a little bit, but it's not as bad as it was. It was pretty bad there for a minute, but basically that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and put the car on the ground and give you a preview of what it looks like just sitting on the ground. Also forgot to mention, if you frequently take your bumper on and off, there's something else you're gonna want to do with this lip. Because of how far back it goes, it covers these screws that hold this piece in. So if you still got this piece that goes over your wheel well, the inside of your wheel well, you'll have to cut a hole to get to that screw. I only got 2 screws in. I got that one and that one at the back that's holding this piece in. But you'll have to cut a hole in it to get to them. If you got the 3rd one, you're good to go, but you know, you have to cut those out to be able to get to those screws if you drop your bumper frequently. I end up dropping this bumper more than I want to, so I had to be able to get in there. Did it on both sides, did it on the other side too. I have no splash shield. Hit a deer a couple of years ago, and after we did the body work, we never put the splash shield back on. Doesn't seem to cause too much issue, but it wouldn't cover your splash shield, but it will cover those last 2 screws down there. Alright, there it is, installed. Has a nice little aggressive look to the front end, I guess. Too bad though, it come out too awful. So you're gonna have to get a few extras in order to do this job right. No. You're gonna need, well, I mean, tools you're gonna need, like a drill, a couple of drill bits, because you want to drill the holes instead of just like running the screws straight through. I mean, you can run the screws straight through, but that's a little cleaner, a little easier to manipulate if you drill a hole and then put the screw in. So I would get some extra screws, maybe even like nuts and bolts with some washers that'll fit. Not too long, you know, an inch long, maybe 1.25 inches is good. You'll also need 2-sided tape. You'll need some isopropyl alcohol to clean everything, and you know, that's about it. Unless you're gonna need to modify it at all, you know, then of course you're gonna need to sand it and cut it and Bondo and all that other stuff. But just for a straight up installation, if everything fits together well, that should be all you need, and that's what you end up with. Not a bad looking little mod there. So that is the Magic Drift front lip for a I think it's a 2010 to 2012 Nissan Altima sedan. And there you go, installed. Thanks for watching.